Would you believe me if I told you that I spent nearly $10,000 on gear? Lights, cameras, drones, all the random gear and crap that you can think of. I spent money well and above beyond $10,000 just because I wanted my videos and projects to look good. That's a trap. And let me tell you why. I call it the gear lie. You see, as a new creative or just anybody in general, whenever you start a hobby or you're passionate about a project, you are willing to put money on the line. You are willing to invest what you have because you want that thing that you're investing into to grow. And such was my mindset back in the early days. I was a kid in college. I didn't know what I was doing. I would work a little part time job before COVID hit, and I would invest my paychecks into buying all this equipment. I would literally use leftover money from college and scholarships and stuff like that, and I would buy a bunch of gear. I remember one time I bought myself a Canon T7i as my starter camera, and then I felt like that just wasn't enough. So I decided to go ahead and buy a Sony A7 III because that was one of the best cameras at the time. And if I wanted to be a professional photographer, then I had to have the professional equipment. A few months later, I was in my Twitch streaming phase, and I decided, you know what? I may have the A7 III and the Canon T7i, but I need me a specific camera just so I can go stream. And lo and behold, enter the Sony A6400, which had a little flippable screen that you can flip up so you can see yourself on the camera while you're streaming. Which, I mean, honestly, you didn't really need that anyways, because you could just put your video of yourself on your computer screen while you're streaming. So, either way, it's just a lot of gear, a lot of money, and a lot of gear. And I didn't use it to its fullest potential. Now, usually, when you're buying more than two cameras, you better be making some films or you better be a great photographer making great return on your money. I was barely doing any of that. I'd be lucky if I could have a gig once or twice a month. And it didn't really pay that much either. They were usually just portrait gigs. I would take my clients to the park and just take photos of them for a graduation or prom or something like that. Something simple, right? They didn't really pay out the big Vuku bucks. And here's where I want to address the situation to you, my fellow viewers. Do not fall for the gear trap. Do not spend money that you don't have. Money is a valuable tool, and we want to make sure that we can have that tool to use it for other things, like other projects. Oftentimes, the gear light goes like this. If I have the best equipment, that means I will now make better videos. And that's not always true. If you guys looked at my setup right now, all I have right now is just my iPhone recording me. I don't even have a mic. I'm not hiding any Rode Go mics. Maybe one day I'll get one. We'll see. And the lighting that I'm using is just a simple Hue light that I got from Amazon. They're pretty cheap. You can just buy one. They're just meant to just kind of light up a room. You can buy like a cheap little desk lamp too, and that'll get the job just as easily done than a $400 light would. And the room that I'm even recording in is just an extra spare room at my mom's house. This isn't even my house. I don't even live here. I'm just using this room temporarily when I go back to my house after vacation time. You'll see the whole setup change and everything. But the point is that I'm trying to make across here is that you don't need all the fancy schmancy equipment. All you need is your phone, your brain, and some lights, and you can create a very decent vlog video just like that. If you'll allow me to show you, I have a little diagram to showcase how it all works out. So I went ahead and pulled up a diagram here. We're gonna go ahead and start off with the gearhead noob here. So this guy decided that he wanted to randomly buy himself a red camera. Now don't get it twisted. I'm not making fun of a gearhead noob. If you're a gearhead noob today, Do not worry. All right. I'm not here to make fun of you because at one point, this guy was once me. All right. So Gearhead Noob decided to buy a Red camera. And because he decided to buy a Red camera, more than often, he's broke. Right? A Red camera costs around $5,000, $6,000 from the making of this video. So chances are, unless you just have an extra $6,000 lying around, you are most likely going to be broke. And because a Red cam can be complicated to learn, you gotta learn how to use the aperture and all the settings and the SD cards and raw footage and all that fun stuff. You are going to spend more time learning how to use this camera in order to create quality footage. So, because of all this, this is going to be leading you to less content. You will have less content created because you are going to spend more time learning how to use your Red camera instead of spending more time on creating content. Less time spent creating, again, more time learning, less time creating. As a creative, we need to be able to learn our equipment. We need to learn how to make our craft. So instead of learning how to start from square one, we can start creating cool videos. All right. And because of all of this overall, you will have less opportunities. People will often give opportunities to those who have a lot of content because they can see more of your stuff. All right. So now let me move it into the skilled guy. This is a skilled guy here. He knows the craft. He knows how to make cool videos, and he spent years doing it. He doesn't have much gear, but with the gear that he does have, he can make high quality films. So the skilled guy here, he decides, you know what? I do have a Red camera and I can use it, but today I'm going to use my iPhone because a lot of new iPhones nowadays can do what a lot of these fancy cameras can do too. For example, the Apple camera I hear nowadays have a RAW feature to them. So if you have an iPhone 17 Pro, you actually have access to RAW footage. And that's a very big deal because Red cameras were known to produce raw footage, which raw footage, we'll get into a whole nother video on that later, basically allows you to kind of just color max your videos. All right. So because he decides to use his iPhone, it's very simple to use the iPhone as a camera. All you have to do is just press a button and you start recording. Of course, you can always change the settings, but if you know how to be a master of your craft, you can do that easily. All right. Because of that, he saves a lot of time and he saves a lot of money. He's not here buying new SD cards or new batteries for his Red camera. He already has everything he needs in his simple iPhone camera that he can just simply carry in his pocket. All right? He doesn't have to buy a case, he doesn't have to buy a bag for it. Everything can be stored in his pocket, which makes this a very powerful tool. All right? And because of all that, he now has access to create more films, more content, which leads to more connections and more opportunities in the future. So overall, to just sum up this video, don't be discouraged if you are someone who has bought a bunch of gear and maybe you don't have the content that you would have liked to have created by now, but rather be encouraged that it's not the end of the world for you. And since you already have all this gear, you might as well put it to good use. I have a lot of fancy gear. I want to show it off. I want to create some really cool stuff. I do, and I will soon once I feel like the foundation is there and it's ready. But I want to encourage those who don't have the gear, who don't have the proper things. You can start creating content right now. You can make amazing films, take amazing photos, create cool graphic content design today, starting with your phone. If all you have is a cheap, crappy iPhone SE or an Android or Samsung, you can start right now. If you download Canva for free, you can start creating cool things. Do not be a gearhead. Do not fall for the gear lie.